Welcome home. What makes a good villain? Their monstrous betrayals?
Doing, my son.
Succeeding you, father.
Extreme ideology and decision?
I will rule this sector or see it burnt to ashes around me.
Or does it all just come down to aesthetics? Spoiler, it's none of these. A good villain comes down to believability, which is best explained by example. So here are some Shakespearean-ass villains in video games. Starting with a fan favorite, General Shepard is the antagonist of first-person shooter Modern Warfare 2. In the previous game, Modern Warfare 1, Shepard had 30,000 of his US Army Marines crispy fried by a Russian nuke. Traumatic, tragic, really paints the Russians in a bad light. So to put it mildly, Shepard doesn't like him. And to create a narrative that will let the US go in on Russia, and I'm not talking about real life now, Shepard commits multiple war crimes throughout Modern Warfare 2. Towards the end, this involves tying up loose ends.
We got it, sir!
Good. That's one less loose end.
Oh no, the sweet-looking grandpa guy did that? This covers up the last of Shepard's war crimes and finalizes the plans to go balls deep on Russia. Let's return to the original question of this video. What makes Shepard such a great and memorable villain? The betrayal is pulled off perfectly, and it's all backed up by Shepard's rock-solid motivation.
5 years ago, I lost 30,000 men in the blink of an eye. And the world just fucking watched.
Believability. The actions match the motivation, and it's all grounded in the world. As in, you can totally believe that Shepard is a US Army general, and he's kind of a daddy too. Contrast Shepard's believability with a later villain in the same game series, Admiral Kotch from Infinite Warfare. There's no point in describing Admiral Koch's story, for he has no believability and no bitches. Why? Because in his very first scene, he pulls what I, Nisse, call a "remember, I'm the bad guy" move by shooting his own men to death to prove a point to some random guy who's about to die anyway. The utter fact that they casted a cute GQ Romeo boy like Kit Harington for this role and not some over-the-top evil bastard, just no. Next up, Arthas from the real-time strategy Warcraft 3. Arthas is probably the greatest character in all of video games. So, you know, there's that. This is because of Arthas' story, where he starts out as an arrogant but noble and sweet prince who accepts increasingly extreme actions when the undead invade his home of Lordaeron. The reveal here is the culling, where Arthas infamously nay-nays on plague-infected civilians before they have a chance to turn into zombies, which, funnily enough, is the same excuse I used when the cops found the skinwalkers I cemented into my basement floor. Arthas' arc turns him from good to bad by exploiting his weakness, wanting to impress the world around him, which means the arc is a grotesque, much like Walter in Breaking Bad or Jordan in The Wolf of Wall Street. Arthas' drip is also important to note, since the aesthetic starts as Lordaeron's regal blue and gold, but as Lordaeron falls and Arthas picks up Frostmourne, the aesthetics take a turn at corrupted demonic lane, which gets huge payoff when Arthas embraces Death Knightdom and a perfect outer appearance of his inner state of mind. The only flaw I find in Arthas is him trading the Resurrect ultimate, the best fucking ultimate in Warcraft 3, for the anime Dead ultimate, which is shit. Arthas' believability. An egotistical prince accepting cursed power from a dark voice to better save his people and prove himself to a skeptical mentor? 5 on 5. Let me put it curtly. Arthas is so good that his spin-off book is good. Damn. Fallout 4 is an open-world action RPG with a villain who is your own son, Shaun. Bethesda, the developer, failed to make Shaun the villain of the story and the missing son plot hook at the same time. So while Shaun's motivation works, to save the world through ethically sussy technology like synthetic humans, at some point in the story, some of Shaun's synths kill random people to raise intrigue. I guess. When you, the player, ask Shaun about this in the end, he literally says something like, "It's too complex for you to understand." The fact that I can't remember what quest this is or how to find it, it says everything you need to know about this character. Because a memory is emotion plus information. And even though Shaun is talking to me and giving me information, I don't feel anything about him. Funnily enough, the previous game, Fallout 3's villain, is fucking worse. Because the first villain is just a guy in a trench coat whose name I can't remember. Colonel Autumn, that's right, I do remember him. And the second villain is a computer that speaks like a man whose name I actually can't remember, who has zero agency on the story and a horrendous bad guy plan that will kill everyone in Fallout 3's Capital Wasteland, just like with the retarded ending of Fallout 2. You know what's really sad about this? These villains' henchmen, the Enclave, are excellent aesthetically, writing-wise, and in story impact. It makes me really sad that they never got a well-made villain to suit. And it's even sadder that the Fallout franchise only has bad villains after the superb Master in Fallout 1. Wait, no, that's not right. After all, who leads the Legion? Ceasar, from the CRPG Fallout New Vegas. Ceasar is the Legion's creator, an army built on Roman autocracy. Ceasar's henchmen are live-action role-playing legionnaires that use lots of melee weapons and are really edgy.
Women are physically and intellectually inferior to men. Their role is to bear children and ensure the survival of our species.
These spicy boys were raised by Ceasar's McLegion franchising business system, where Ceasar enslaves tribes of savages, cross-marries their populations, and makes soldiers out of the newly integrated. Ceasar is fiercely intelligent, well-spoken,
I said make it the adult males, and you have a deal.
resourceful, but most importantly, believability. Ceasar's motivation goes like this: take this shithole we call the Wasteland, and from its dust, build new Rome, a new hope for humanity. His classical education, pathos, and intelligence makes Ceasar so believable that I, Nisse, side with him. After all, what do you think it took to get our current civilized world going? That's right, pain and labor. So why not give thanks to your ancestors for their hard work? Now, if you excuse me, I have some slaves to prod. And speaking of games where slavery is legal, Dagoth Ur, from the CRPG Morrowind. Story. In ages past, Dagoth Ur was a Dark Elf military leader who, in the battle for the Dark Elf homeland of Morrowind, captured a magical artifact, the last remains of a dead god. When Dagoth Ur suggested that the god's magical remains should be put to use to the commander of the war, Dagoth Ur was struck down for his hubris. But Dagoth Ur survived, and after centuries of rebuilding himself inside Red Mountain, in the chamber where the dead god's magical heart is kept, Dagoth Ur has returned to free his home of Morrowind from the new Imperial occupation. Lair. I rated a villainous out of 10. Aesthetics of the gods. The golden burial mask sums up the whole Dark Elf theme of ancestral worship and ancient tombs. Believability. Easy to understand nationalistic sentiment given form through seductive dark magic, which mutates Dagoth Ur's sleepers with strange but powerful boons. Boss fight. Pretty weak sauce gameplay-wise, with a destroy the shield generator MacGuffin setup, but since you're actually destroying the dead god's heart to kill Dagoth Ur, it's a 5-on-5 story gameplay interaction, which still makes the boss fight one of the most satisfying ones in video games. The simple fact that I, Nisse, went back through Morrowind just to cast Calm Creature on and talk to Dagoth Ur's henchmen to learn more about their history and culture really tells you everything you need to know about how well realized Dagoth Ur's 6th house is. Morrowind's sequel, Oblivion's only villain is the Mythic Dawn, which are aesthetically gorgeous in every way, but the last boss is just an escort quest. Oblivion's sequel, Skyrim, iterated on this by letting the dragon villain Alduin kick off the story, but even though Alduin's got neat lore, he doesn't really impact the game up until the point where you fight him. Ironic how the Elder Scrolls villains are all believable and nail the aesthetics, but they're all poor as boss fights. This shows that there's a lot of things that make a villain memorable. Boss fight, aesthetic, henchman, voice acting, plot presence, grand vision. All these things contribute to a memorable and cool villain, but every villain lays on the bedrock of their own believability. So what have we learned today? Believability is the result of the formula motivation plus action plus reaction, and it is believability that lies at the core of every good villain. Be mindful of the next time a story throws a betrayal at you, because a betrayal embodies villain motivation, villain action on the story, and if done right, you will be the reaction. Nisse, you seem to absolutely adore villains. Oh, I do, my dear. But Nisse, if you were a villain, what would your drip be? Oh, simple. White Saab 93X, white Adidas tracksuit, and a little ear glitter thing. My sole henchman would be my wife, and my lair would be my house in the countryside. Okay, but in what way is that villainous? Well, I'm no super villain. I'm just a little villain, making some little villains, you feel me? Click here for more Nisse. Shout out the patrons who pay for my groceries. Michael Kennedy, Albin Lager, André Skalsjö, welcome to the grocery squad, King. Bartosz, Harry McKenzie, Nathan, Pumger, Pumba, Omger, Seppums, J Pinkman, Latsu, welcome to the grocery squad, King. And Revolution Bruce, welcome you too, King. With just a little bit more, you guys will genuinely be paying for my monthly groceries. I love you more than I have words for. Thank you.